Have you ever looked at your fruit tree and thought, why is this tree growing so much, yet giving me almost nothing? Every year, the branches become longer, the leaves become greener, and the tree looks healthier and bigger. But when you're waiting for flowers and fruit, there's almost nothing to show for all that growth. And this is one of the most frustrating problems a gardener can face. But before you decide that your tree is useless or needs to be replaced, there is something fascinating you should know. For generations, growers have used simple techniques designed to encourage a stubborn fruit tree to shift its attention toward flowering and reproduction. Some of these methods use gentle pressure, some temporarily change the position of a branch, and others create a carefully controlled interruption in the branch. They may sound unusual, but the idea behind all of them is surprisingly simple. Sometimes a tree that is spending too much energy on growth needs a signal that it is time to focus on producing. In this video, we are going through 6 traditional techniques, and in this first part, we will focus on the first 3. The first technique is incredibly simple because you only need a piece of ordinary wire. Take the wire and wrap it gently around a suitable branch, making several turns while leaving a small gap between each turn, roughly 1 centimeter or about half an inch. The purpose is not to squeeze the branch tightly or damage it. Instead, the wire creates controlled pressure around the branch as the branch continues to grow. As the branch becomes thicker, that pressure becomes more noticeable, creating a mild restriction. The traditional idea behind this technique is that the tree responds to this kind of controlled stress by changing how it allocates its resources, potentially encouraging flowering and fruit production. This technique has traditionally been used particularly with citrus and other fruit trees, and growers have reported interesting results when it is applied carefully. But there is one rule you should never ignore. You're trying to give the tree a signal, not strangle the branch. If the wire begins cutting deeply into the bark or causing obvious damage, it has gone too far. The goal is gentle and controlled, because damaging a productive branch can create the exact opposite result from what you want. Now, the second technique is much more dramatic, and it is known as girdling. This is a technique that requires significantly more care because it involves removing a narrow ring of bark from a selected branch. According to the original method, it should be performed on branches rather than around the main trunk. The reason is simple. A serious injury to the trunk can affect the entire tree, while a carefully selected branch allows the intervention to remain localized. The traditional process involves making 2 narrow circular cuts around the branch, only a few millimeters apart, and then carefully removing the strip of bark between those cuts. But this is where precision matters more than ever. The purpose is not to cut deeply into the branch. You should not aggressively scrape into the underlying tissue or cut into the wood. The technique depends on creating a narrow interruption rather than destroying the branch. The traditional explanation is that removing this strip can partially interrupt the movement of processed sugars and other resources through the branch, causing more of those resources to remain above the treated area. And when more resources become available around the upper part of the branch, the traditional goal is to encourage flowering and fruit development. This is why the technique has been used by growers who have trees that produce plenty of vegetative growth but struggle to flower or set fruit. However, this is not a method to use randomly on every branch. The original script specifically emphasizes that it should be limited and carefully performed. A tree is a living system, and excessive girdling can weaken or seriously damage it. So if you ever consider this technique, understand that precision and restraint are far more important than making a large cut. Now, the third method is perhaps the most interesting because you do not need to cut the branch at all, and you do not need wire. Instead, you simply change the branch's position. Choose a suitable branch and gently bend it downward until you feel a small amount of tension. The idea is to create a controlled change in the branch angle rather than forcing it into an extreme position. Once you have the desired position, a piece of string can be used to hold the branch in place. On a potted tree, the string can be secured to a suitable support near the edge of the pot, while a tree growing in the ground can be supported using a stake or rod placed firmly into the soil. Why would bending a branch make any difference? Traditional growers have long used branch positioning as a way to influence how fruit trees distribute their energy. A very vigorous tree can sometimes produce an enormous amount of leafy growth while producing surprisingly few flowers. By changing the angle of selected branches and holding them in a more horizontal or downward position, growers attempt to encourage the tree to balance excessive vegetative growth with reproductive growth. This method can be particularly interesting for trees that seem extremely healthy but simply refuse to produce the harvest you expect. And remember, the branch is not supposed to remain tied down forever. The original technique describes using the tension temporarily and then removing the rope once the tree begins responding. Think of it as a temporary signal rather than a permanent change to the tree's shape. So, we have already covered 3 very different approaches: gentle pressure with wire, carefully controlled girdling, and temporary branch bending. And although they look completely different, they share one central idea: encouraging a tree that is heavily focused on growth to redirect more attention toward reproduction. But we are only halfway through. The next 3 techniques become even more unusual, and one of them involves creating a small localized wound. Another uses a screw or nail, and the final technique focuses on something just as important as waking the tree up, giving it the resources it needs to actually hold and develop its fruit. So don't stop here, because the final part is where these techniques come together and where we look at the nutritional support that may make the difference between seeing flowers and actually getting fruit. Now let's move to the next technique, because this one is probably one of the most unusual methods in the entire video. Instead of wrapping the branch with wire or bending it downward, this method creates a small, controlled window in the branch. The idea is simple, but precision is extremely important. You begin with a sharp, clean knife and make a small cut in the branch, roughly 2 centimeters long or about 1 inch. You're not trying to carve into the branch or remove a large section of tissue. The purpose is to create a small, localized wound that gives the tree a signal without unnecessarily destroying the branch. If the branch is thicker, the size of the opening can be adjusted slightly, but the principle remains the same: small, controlled, and limited. Once the cut is made, a small portion of the bark and cambium is removed, creating the little window. And here is something you absolutely need to understand. This technique is not meant to be performed on every branch of the tree. The original method recommends treating only selected branches, with approximately half of the tree being the maximum. Why? Because the tree still needs plenty of healthy, uninterrupted tissue to move water, nutrients, and energy throughout its structure. The traditional idea behind this technique is that when the tree detects a localized injury, it responds by activating its natural defense mechanisms. The tree recognizes that something has happened and begins mobilizing resources to protect itself and continue its life cycle. And reproduction is one of the most important parts of that life cycle. That means flowers, seeds, and fruit. So the goal of this technique is to encourage the tree to redirect some of its energy toward flowering and fruit production. Once the small window has been created, the original technique also recommends applying a little aloe vera to the wounded area. This step is not presented as absolutely necessary, but it is suggested as a way of helping protect and hydrate the exposed area while reducing the chance of infection. The key word here is controlled. You're not trying to create a major wound. You're giving the tree a small signal and then allowing it to respond. And that brings us to an even more surprising technique, because the next method involves something you probably have sitting somewhere in your toolbox right now: a screw or a nail. Yes, you heard that correctly. A simple piece of metal is traditionally used to create a small injury in a tree that seems completely stalled and refuses to produce. It sounds strange at first, but the traditional reasoning behind it follows the same basic idea we have seen throughout this video. Create a controlled stimulus and encourage the tree to respond. Before doing anything, the screw or nail should be thoroughly cleaned or disinfected with alcohol. This step is important because whenever you create an opening in living plant tissue, cleanliness matters. You do not want to introduce unnecessary contamination into the wound. Once it is clean, the original method recommends choosing a suitable location on the main trunk. This is important because the technique is not intended for thin, delicate branches. A small branch can be weakened much more easily, while the traditional method aims to create a localized stimulus in a stronger part of the tree. The screw is inserted only a short distance, approximately 2 to 3 centimeters, or about an inch. There is absolutely no reason to drive it all the way through the trunk, and excessive damage is not the objective. The traditional explanation is that the tree detects this small injury and activates its natural response mechanisms. Girdling creates a narrow interruption on a selected branch. Branch bending changes the position of the branch temporarily. The small window creates a localized wound. The screw or nail creates another controlled injury. And the final nutritional step is intended to provide support after the tree has been encouraged to produce. Together, these methods represent an old gardening idea. Sometimes a tree that is growing too aggressively needs a signal to change direction. But once it begins producing, it also needs the right conditions and resources to finish the job. And that final part is where many gardeners make their mistake. They see flowers and assume the problem is solved. Then a few weeks later, the flowers disappear, the tiny fruits fall, and they wonder what went wrong. The answer may be that flowering was never the entire problem. Fruit production is a process, and every stage matters. The tree needs enough energy to flower, enough resources to set fruit, and enough support to keep that fruit growing. So instead of asking only, "How do I make my tree flower?" start asking a better question. What is preventing my tree from carrying those flowers all the way to harvest? That question can completely change the way you approach your garden. And remember, these traditional methods should never replace basic tree care. A productive fruit tree still needs appropriate sunlight, water, healthy roots, suitable soil, and balanced nutrition. If those foundations are missing, no unusual trick can magically compensate for them. Think of these techniques as targeted interventions rather than shortcuts. And if you decide to experiment, always start conservatively. Never assume that doing more will produce better results. With trees, the opposite can easily be true. A small, carefully controlled change may provide a useful signal, while excessive damage can permanently weaken the very branch you were hoping would give you fruit. So now you know all 6 traditional techniques: gentle wire restriction, careful girdling, temporary branch bending, the small branch window, the controlled screw or nail method, and nutritional support designed to help the tree move from flowering toward fruit development. Some are simple, some are unusual, and some require far more caution than others. But the bigger lesson is not simply to copy a technique. It is to understand what your tree is doing before you intervene. If it is producing endless leaves but almost no flowers, the problem may be excessive vegetative growth. If it flowers but drops everything, the issue may be occurring later in the fruit-setting process. If it barely grows at all, forcing reproduction may be the wrong approach entirely. Learn to read the tree first, and then choose the response. And now I want to hear from you. What fruit tree is giving you the biggest headache right now? Is it a lemon tree that refuses to fruit, an orange tree that only produces leaves, a mango tree that flowers but drops everything, or perhaps an entirely different fruit tree? Tell me in the comments where you're watching from and which tree you're trying to get more fruit from. I read your comments, and your experience could also help another gardener who is dealing with the exact same problem. If you found these traditional fruit tree techniques useful or surprising, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel for more practical gardening ideas, and share this video with someone who loves growing fruit trees. Because sometimes the tree you think has failed simply needs a better understanding of what it's trying to tell you. Keep watching your trees, keep learning from them, and remember that a great harvest usually begins long before the first fruit appears.